10 billion marks for one loaf of bread. I mean, it's a number so completely insane, it's hard to even wrap your head around it. So how? How does an advanced, modern country get to a point where its money is so worthless, you literally need a wheelbarrow to go grocery shopping?
Well, let's get into it. The story of Germany's hyperinflation isn't about just one bad decision. Nope. It's a catastrophic domino effect, a whole chain reaction of events, where each piece just knocks over the next one, leading to a total, complete economic meltdown. So we're going to follow that chain, domino by domino. So where do we begin? Well, like a lot of stories from the 20th century, this one kicks off with the First World War. But we're not talking about the battles in the trenches. We're talking about the money, specifically how Germany planned to pay for this massive global war. Okay, so you can see right away two totally different game plans here. The British, they played it kind of safe, right? They raised taxes to help cover the costs. But Germany went all in. Their plan was to just borrow tons of money and fire up the printing presses because they were absolutely convinced they were going to win the war. The whole idea was, hey, after we win, we'll just make our enemies pay for everything and that'll clear our debt. It was a huge, massive economic gamble. And well, you know how this story goes. The gamble completely backfired. Not only did Germany lose the war, but the tables were turned on them entirely. Instead of gaining industrial power, they lost huge chunks of it. The new government, the Weimar Republic, was suddenly stuck with an incredible debt of 1.44 billion marks, and the very resources it needed to pay it back, all that iron, zinc, and coal, were gone. So Germany's already in a deep economic hole. And then the next domino falls, the Treaty of Versailles and the absolutely crushing weight of war reparations. 6.6 billion pounds. It's just an astronomical figure. But here's the thing. The massive number wasn't even the biggest problem. The real issue is that the Allies made it practically impossible for Germany to actually pay it. And this is what made the whole situation just a total trap. I mean, think about it. Germany didn't have enough gold. Okay, so they couldn't pay with coal because their best coal fields had been taken away. All right, well, maybe they could earn foreign money through trade. Nope. Their merchant ships were confiscated, and their goods were hit with huge taxes that made them impossible to sell. Every single path to repayment was blocked. So, with Germany unable to pay up, things finally came to a head. France and Belgium were determined to get what they were owed, and they decided, fine, we'll just take it. This right here was the flashpoint that would ignite the entire crisis.
In January of 1923, troops marched into the Ruhr Valley, which was basically the engine room of the whole German economy. They were there to physically seize coal and steel as payment. But the German government responded, not with an army, but with this policy of passive resistance. And the whole situation just spiraled into total chaos and even violence. And this is where we find the final and by far the most destructive domino in the chain. The German government's reaction to the Ruhr invasion was a really desperate move that would turn an economic crisis into an absolute economic apocalypse. So, what exactly was this passive resistance policy? What did the government actually tell people to do? Well, first, they told pretty much every worker in the Ruhr, the miners, the factory workers, everybody, to just go on strike, to produce absolutely nothing for the invaders. But here's the real kicker. They also promised to keep paying the wages for all of those striking workers, to support them for standing up for their country. Which, of course, leads to the billion-mark question. With the country's industrial heartland completely shut down and almost no tax money coming in, where on earth was this money going to come from? The answer? They just printed it. With literally no other options, the government turned on the printing presses and just flooded the entire country with paper money to pay the bills. And this, my friends, is the textbook definition of hyperinflation. You have more and more money chasing fewer and fewer goods, and prices just explode in this vicious, out-of-control spiral. You know, it's one thing to talk about this as an economic theory, but for ordinary Germans, this was a daily nightmare. The very idea of money, of savings, of value, it just disintegrated, and it plunged their whole society into an abyss. Just look at this table. It tells the entire story. In 1918, a pound of bread cost less than a quarter of a mark, okay? By January 1923, it's 700 marks. That's bad. But then, look, by September, it's 2 million. And just 2 months later, in November, 210
billion. The numbers become so large, they're basically meaningless. It is a total collapse. The artist George Gross really captured the sheer speed of it all. He said a rabbit might cost 2 million marks more by the time it took you to walk to the store. I mean, prices weren't rising daily or even hourly. They were rising by the minute. You had to go buy things the second you got paid before your wages turned to dust in your hands. The reality of daily life was just surreal. People were using wheelbarrows and laundry baskets just to carry cash. Kids were using stacks of worthless money like building blocks. An entire lifetime of savings, carefully put away in the bank, might not even be enough to buy you a single cup of coffee.
And here's a really crucial point. This crisis created this brutal, upside-down new social order. The winners, they were the people with huge debts. Think big industrialists who could suddenly pay off massive loans for pennies. But the losers were the bedrock of society. The middle class, pensioners, anyone who had responsibly saved money their whole life. Their savings were just gone, wiped out. This didn't just cause poverty, it turned society's values completely on their head.
This quote right here gets to the deepest wound of all. This wasn't just about losing money, it was about losing faith. People felt completely betrayed. They looked at their government and saw incompetence. They saw a system that couldn't protect the savings of ordinary people. And that trust, once it's broken, is incredibly hard to get back.
And the long-term damage? Well, it was catastrophic. Public health declined, crime went through the roof, and society started to crack, with everyone looking for someone to blame. The hyperinflation of 1923 left this deep psychological scar on Germany, creating a profound fear of economic instability and a deep-seated distrust in democratic government that would have absolutely devastating consequences later.